Beautiful night here in South Florida, and the Cardinals in this series trying to make it 2 wins in a row and 5 overall in a row. It's the Cardinals and Marlins in Game 2 on your home of the Redbirds, Fox Sports Midwest. Last night, 4 runs in the top of the ninth, highlighted by this 2-run blast off a Heath Bell off the bat of Yadier Molina. That would send us to extra innings. Then we saw a little bit of history. Joe Kelly, first ever base hit and RBI, some insurance, and the Cardinals would win it by a run. A dramatic win last night for St. Louis. And with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals baseball. And Rick, will see if the weekend, as well as last night, dramatic win carries over to tonight.
And an emotional win as well. Yadier Molina's home run was unbelievable. This clubhouse is fired up. A lot of other good at-bats late in the game. The Cardinals at one point were down 6-1. I think this really comes on the heels of the outstanding performance they had in Kansas City. I think that's where they really got their start. But we'll see if this can continue forward and if the momentum is really going to continue over the next week or two.
It's a pair of right-handers here tonight in game number 2. Kyle Loesch for St. Louis. Carlos Zambrano, the former Cub, going for the fish. Baseball coming up. Kyle Loesch will get the start tonight for St. Louis and looking for win number 7. One of the best ERAs in the National League overall at 2.85. Remarkably consistent both home and road. Last time we saw him in this ballpark, he pitched into the 8th inning, the opening night of this 2012 campaign. Holiday in Florida. We'll tell you what that's all about when we come back. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at stlchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, just no equal. The city of Miami, a beautiful night. Roof is closed. It's 75 degrees inside the ballpark, and I guess you can't blame Mike Matheny for checking twice, 3, 4, 5 times with that lineup card.
Not after yesterday. A big snafu with the lineup card, and Bob Davidson, he's the umpire at third here tonight for game 2, and all is forgotten because the Cardinals were able to come back and have a big victory. Outstanding finish last night.
Cardinals, one of the top hitting teams collectively in baseball. This is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. For Cal, Jay, and Holiday, Beltran, Craig, Molina, Schumacher, Descalso the start at third base. Freese will come off the bench, and the pitcher is Kyle Loesch. Cardinals face an old buddy in Carlos Zambrano. He's 4-5 this year.
He has had some very good starts against the Cardinals and some bad ones in his career. We know he swings the bat well, so watch out for that. But Zambrano has not been good in his last 3 outings. 9 1/3 cumulative innings in those last 3 starts, and he's given up 15 runs.
Big Z, Carlos Zambrano. And let's take a look at the defense behind Big Z. Morrison, Cousins, and Stanton in the outfield. This is brought to you by Dobbs. Ramirez, Reyes on the left side. Infante and Dobbs on the right side. John Buck, their everyday catcher, is behind the plate. Zambrano on the mound. Around the horn is presented by Dobbs. Switch hitting. Rafael Furcal starts things off. He's 8 for 29 on the road trip. Rafael, 31 RBIs in the leadoff spot, first in the National League, and leading the shortstop position for the All-Star game.
Furcal, one of a few Cardinal players in this lineup who do not hit Zambrano very well. Just 130 in his career against Carlos. Molina doesn't, Holiday and Beltran, all 4 of them.
And the 1-1 is hit up the middle for a base hit. Really just guided that into center field for the leadoff base hit.
There are the numbers we were talking about. Just 3 for 23 for Furcal. Now he has another base hit to go along with that. Holiday and Beltran have struggled as well. Beltran does have a home run, though, against Carlos.
Center fielder John Jay. University of Miami product. Looks at strike 1. Cardinals last night did not have a position player left, as Cruz was the final man in. As we saw, he was at first base, and it was Mitchell Boggs who was left out in the bullpen. 1 ball, 1 strike. So who knows what would have happened. Thank goodness we didn't have to find out after Mott got the final out. But the Cardinals were left with Mitchell Boggs in the bullpen.
And some anxious moments in time when Reyes hit a line drive to the center fielder to end that game. If that ball gets down, we have a tie game, and then you've got Mitchell Boggs for the duration.
Slicing down the left field line, Morrison gives it a look, and it's out of play in the seats. Brand new ballpark, Marlins Park. If you didn't see it last night, it is big, spacious. Not much of a home run ballpark, more of a line drive ballpark and a gap ballpark. Jay, a swing and a miss. He went around, committed, and strikes out. He is arguably the hottest hitter right now in baseball, and that's Matt Holliday. His last 9 games, 7 doubles, a pair of home runs, and 12 RBIs, and it carried over to last night, Rick.
The on-base percentage is up, the power's up, the walks are up, you name it. Holliday seeing the ball very well. His at-bat late in the game, a key at-bat. Molina's at-bat got the attention, but Holliday, an 0-2 hit against Heath Bell, was a huge hit.
1 out, runner at first. Furcal was leaning, not running, and the pitch is a strike. He's batting .364 in the month of June. That's 3rd best in the National League, and overall good to see his average now has jumped above that 300 mark at .304. Cardinals start play tonight 4 games above the 500 mark. The Marlins are 5 games below. Little tapper back to Zambrano, fires to second. It's into center field. Nobody was there. Furcal winds up at 3rd.
Zambrano asking who's covering a bit late. Something that pitchers are supposed to do before every at-bat. Who's covering? He thinks it's Infante. So he's looking at Infante right now thinking, I'm going to throw a strike to him, but he peels off, and the throw is supposed to go to the shortstop Reyes.
Did he do, though, the right thing? You throw to the bag, and somebody's supposed to be there.
No, I think he was throwing the ball to Infante because he thought Infante was covering the bag. That's who he picked up in his mind. He forgot who was covering. And what you do is you pick up who's covering. Yes, over the bag is where the throw should go, but he got rid of it quickly because he thought Infante was the man.
And now it extends the inning to Carlos Beltran, 10 for 29 on the road trip. Runners at the corners, and that pitch is taken outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Last 10 games, you look at Holliday and Beltran, and these guys have been on a tear. Carlos at .390. Alan Craig on deck, 3-0, and you know Beltran has the green light. A 3-0 pitch taken for a strike. Remember, Zambrano used to be a guy that could get it up there consistently, mid-90s to high 90s. Nasty slider, but that man is come and gone. Different pitcher.
Velocity's down some. He's always kind of been a guy that pushes the ball. He has kind of an odd delivery, almost shot puts the ball.
Beltran skies one, pops it up, and it's out of play. That is a major league pop-up. Almost hit the roof.
Holliday almost hit the roof about 5 times in batting practice, and that is way up there. Dobbs thought he had it, just kept drifting away from it. Just out of his reach. The other thing you think about with Zambrano is his emotions.
3-2 is tapped foul. They say that he has been a model citizen with the Marlins. No tantrums. As a matter of fact, they say very much a team leader. Maybe a change of scenery was good for him. Get him out of Chicago. And now you're in South Florida. Play like that years past, you would worry about Zambrano from the air on. Up the middle, base hit, 1-0 St. Louis. Carlos Beltran with the RBI for Cal scores. He's been doing that a lot as of late, and it's 1-0 St. Louis. RBI number 58 for Carlos Beltran.
Leading the National League in that department, and if Carlos Beltran is going to be mad at anybody, it has to be himself, because he had an inning-ending double play made to order, and he threw the ball into center field, and that allowed the Cardinals to extend the inning. Beltran to pick up the RBI.
Now Alan Craig, who's batting .311. Runners at first and second. 9 home runs. He's driven in 34. Dan Bellino is behind the plate. Bob Davidson, who was at the center of it all last night, is at third base. Jerry Lane, the crew chief, at second. Mike Mulchinski is at first base. Strike 2. Craig bounces it foul. Remember, Carlos Zambrano was traded to the Marlins for Chris Volstad. He is owed roughly about $18 million this year. The Marlins are paying just over $2 million. So it's a pretty good deal when you consider it from the Marlins aspect.
They took a flyer on him. Not really much of a risk. It's a team that needed a 5th starter. They have a pretty decent rotation from top to bottom, and Ozzie figured maybe I can handle him a bit.
0-2 pitch inside to Craig. He and Ozzie Guillen are actually fairly close.
Both from Venezuela.
Yep, even though they both were in Chicago, but one with the White Sox, the other with the Cubs. Zambrano lives in the offseason in Venezuela. Recently adopted a little boy. Two and two. Adopted a little boy out of Guatemala. Organization called the Hope of Life. 24-13 are the Cardinals when Furcal scores a run. Craig now even at 2-2. Hits a rocket off of Reyes into left field. A run will score, and it's 2-0 St. Louis. An absolute rocket. Reyes couldn't handle it. It's E6 on the play. The second error charged to the Marlins.
Tough error, as the ball was smoked by Alan Craig. Reyes is trying to just keep this ball in the infield. He does what he can do, but see him backpedaling almost. Just trying to get in front of it. The ball hops a bit to his left, and see how fast that ball gets through the picture in slow motion.
And again, you go back to Zambrano's mistake and the error on what would have been inning-ending double play. Now it extends the inning to Yadier Molina, one of the heroes from last night.
Marlins made 3 errors in the game last night, and our remark during the game was it's awful tough to win a game where you make 3 errors, and they didn't ultimately.
Cutter misses down and away to Molina. Average has jumped up to 319, 11 home runs. He's homered in 2 straight games. RBI total up to 41. John Mozeliak, the Cards GM, was saying that back in 2004 when Molina was called up, defensively he was ready. Offensively he was not, and now just coming into his own. Said it was always a situation where Molina hit in the minor leagues. They always felt he was going to be this type of hitter. But it took a while to catch up the offense to the defense. But it's caught up.
Remember Dave Ricketts, who I respected tremendously as a Cardinal coach. He handled all the catchers, including Matheny. He told me, where do you see this kid Molina? He said, I've been around this game for a long time. The late Dave Ricketts, dear friend. And he said, and Dave Ricketts did not hand out compliments easily. Let's just put it that way. He was very stern, but he said, this guy is unbelievable. Where do you see Molina? And he was right.
Mike Matheny was his teammate back in 2004. This is pitch number 26 of the inning. Would you put his name in the conversation right now for MVP in talking about Yadier Molina? You see what he's done the last 2 years.
Escalating numbers. Yes, he's in the mix. You'd also have to say, of course, we don't pick the MVP on June 26th, but the Cardinal right fielder would get a lot of votes.
Absolutely. The 2-2. We know, watching him day in and day out, his value to this team, especially defensively. But the rest of the league now is starting to find out about his offense too.
And I think your point about Yadi in particular, who's also good with runners in scoring position, we saw that last night. The average Cardinal fan would know on a given night if you had to have Beltran out of the lineup or Yadier, which would you prefer?
Right.
It's not an easy question,
no.
But I don't think you want Yadi out.
The 2-2 doesn't chase, works it full. I'm sure Ozzie Guillen right now has to be concerned about what he's seeing from Zambrano. He saw Heath Bell blow up at the back end of the game last night, and his bullpen at times has been terrible. The 3-2 pitch. Yadi cranks one out to deep left. Track. Whoa. Goodbye. He's done it again. Back-to-back games against the Marlins. He had one on Sunday as well. It adds up to 12 this year. It adds up to a 5-run first against Zambrano.
Yadi told me this afternoon, you know, I never look home run. You know me. I just want to drive the ball. And sometimes he drives it a very long way. It's not what he thinks at the plate, but he has the kind of power to be able to go deep in a ballpark like this that's 344 down the left field line, and Molina has been red hot.
We wondered if last night would carry over to game number 2. I think we've got our answer. Turning into a long night already for Carlos Zambrano. 2 balls and 1 strike on Schumacher, who's at second base tonight. Pitch number 33 on its way. And again, this should have been an inning-ending double play.
Inning's over right here. All he's got to do is pick up the shortstop, wait 1 more second, throw that ball right over the bag, a half a second really, throw the ball over the bag to the shortstop and not to the second baseman, and the inning would have ended right then.
There's a drive right center, and this ball bounces off the wall. Stand-up double for Schumacher.
Schumacher, one of the Cardinals who has hit Zambrano well. Nearly 340 in his career.
Distance of the Molina home run at 403. A strike on the outside corner to Descalso.
Zambrano won 18 games in 2007. And even then, watching him pitch, he always appeared to me to be a guy that pitched like his arm hurt. He just has this unique motion. And I would think it's really difficult for a pitching coach and a manager to tell whether he's off on a given day.
That ball is caught, and it's a double play. Schumacher was hustling all the way, but doubled off at second base. 5 runs for Loesch here in the first. Molina with a 3-run homer. RBIs 42, 43, and 44. Part of a 5-run top of the first for St. Louis. Yachty is off to a fantastic start here in 2012. Here's a lineup that Kyle Loesch will face. Reyes, Ramirez, and Stanton. Then Morrison, Dobbs, Infante, Cousins, Beck, or rather Buck, and Zambrano. That's brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Kyle Loesch has been on this mound before and pitched very well on the opening night of the baseball season.
Couldn't pitch much better on opening night, and he's really been good all season long. The ERA at 2.85. His command has been very good. And he pitched well against the Tigers in his last start. 7 innings, just 1 run in that game. A fielder home run. Did not get a decision in that game, but certainly deserved to win.
Here's Jose Reyes, and he takes a ball low. 1 ball, 1 strike. It was a double play to end the top of the first. And we were wondering during the break if Schumacher maybe lost track of the outs. That was not the case. Got about halfway and then decided that's dropped by Descalso. Boy, you rarely see that. Got about halfway between second and third, decided to take the chance with the 5-run lead. Did not pay off, and a rare mistake by Daniel.
Very sure-handed. Probably could go as an error, and they do give him one.
And a fly ball to center field. Jay's there, makes the catch, 1 away. Defense behind Kyle tonight. Holiday, Jay, and Beltran in the outfield. Around the horn is presented by Dobbs. You see Daniel Descalso at third. Skip is at second base. Yachty behind the plate. Loesch on the mound. That's presented by Dobbs. Talking with Kyle yesterday, and mentioned his one mistake in his last start against Detroit was the home run he allowed to Prince Fielder. Said it was a pitch that maybe is still going. Prince unloaded on a breaking ball that he wanted to bury in the dirt. He said, though, hey, if you throw 100 pitches, he said probably 80 of them are where you want them to be, and you hope to get away with the rest. You just hope not to leave it over the middle of the plate.
Well, 80 of them are where Kyle Loesch wants them to be. Not every pitcher can say that. Loesch always in the top 10 in at least walks per 9 innings.
He's had a very good start to this season. 1 and 2 on Hanley Ramirez.
He's third in that department now, Dan. 1.4 walks per 9 innings. You may not think that's a big deal, but look at the Cardinal games over the last week and see what's happened when people have walked hitters, how many times that's resulted in a run.
ERA has been very good this year as well, among the leaders in the National League.
Mark Burley, who pitches for these Marlins, is second in the league. And Joe Blanton for the Phillies. The Phillies are always good at that department. All their starting pitchers.
2-2 is driven out to right. Beltran makes the play on the run. Phillies get Chase Utley back tonight. Ryan Howard at the end of the week will begin a rehab assignment, they're hoping. And you know, if they get those two back, it could really change what they do the rest of this year. Right now they're 8 games out in the East.
And the East is a very interesting division. And
sure
it will
is.
be as it goes forward. And I would not count out the Phillies, and I would not count out the Marlins. The Marlins not playing well now. They've had a horrible June. They're 5-17 this month. But with the rotation that we've talked about, they have the potential to turn it around and get on a roll and run off a lot of wins in a row.
Giancarlo Stanton, young player with great power. 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I like the Nationals, but they're going to have to play some games in August, September that become more and more meaningful to them, and they're not used to it.
We'll see the Nationals at Busch Stadium, their final road trip of the season. Who knows where they may be in the standings, as well as St. Louis at the end of the year.
I'm not sold on them yet, but I'm window shopping.
Window shopping, huh? Yeah. I'm a fan of Bryce Harper. High fly ball, center field, and this ball is gone.
That would be one of those 20 pitches that is not exactly where Kyle Loesch wants it. But he is behind in the count. He says, let's see how far you can hit it. And that's how far he can hit it. .418 to straightaway center here.
That's not a cheap one there. Logan Morrison, the left fielder of the Marlins. Talking about the Phillies, and we're putting Molina in the conversation of being one of the top players in the National League. Carlos Ruiz is having a tremendous season, the catcher for the Phillies. Buster Posey, nationwide story of what he did 2 years ago for the World Series champs of the Giants, and then getting hurt last year by Cousins of the Marlins. Brian McCann will always be in the conversation, it seems like, as one of the top catchers, although his numbers aren't there. Take my chances, though, with Yachty. Holiday backs up a step or two and makes the catch. Giancarlo Stanton, his 17th of the year.
Tonight's starting pitchers, Kyle Loesch and Carlos Zambrano. Loesch has been very consistent, home and road, very similar. Zambrano, on the other hand, has been much better on the road, surprisingly. And off to a rough start here tonight in game 2.
Here's a 1-0 pitch, taken inside by Loesch. Former teammate is Ryan Dempster, who currently is on the disabled list. Now watch Zambrano. He's doing a little bit of that turn of the glove a few times, like Ryan Dempster does, shaking up the glove hand. Not as pronounced, but still a little bit is there, like that. 2-2.
Also pitching in a hurry this inning.
Hardest he has thrown is 90 miles an hour tonight. 2-2, back to Big Z. Flips it over to first, 1 away. The Cardinals have tickets available for $4. $4 for the upcoming series with the Rockies. The 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. presented by the Cardinals and Budweiser. Just head to cardinals.com/July. In 24 hours, the club has sold nearly 14,000 of those seats. So they are going very quickly. If you're thinking about doing it, make sure you do it tonight. The sale will end tomorrow if there's tickets still remaining at midnight. That's cardinals.com/July. $4 seats for all 4 games against the Rockies. McCall pops it up. By the way, Rick, the Cardinals are averaging at home, at last check, averaging over 42,000 a game.
Outstanding.
Amazing. And if you think about what may happen with Carpenter, if you get him back, great. If you don't, and you have to go out and add payroll, there should be ample enough reasons to go out and do it with an average of over 42,000 to add payroll. Little bloop out to left and a base hit for Jay.
Cardinal owner Bill DeWitt has been very clear about that over the past couple of years, how important that is, that the fans continue to come out to allow him to have the money available to get the players we need to win. Been very clear on that, and he's given fans the credit for that. And this year will be no exception.
And former Rocky Matt Holliday digs in. Fourth time in 16 starts, Kyle Lohse has received 5 runs of support this season. But he hasn't been given more than 5 runs in a start. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Cutter did not go. So again, it's cardinals.com/July for those $4 seats. What a great promotion that is. $4. Here's a 1-1 pitch outside. Zambrano is pretty focused on Matt Holliday, and what we've noticed is that not really paying much attention here to John Jay. That's the first time in this at-bat he's really given him an extended look.
Matt Holliday has not only been swinging the bat well, he had an outfield assist yesterday and got to celebrate with a beer poured on him. Told me during batting practice that he believes they did find the guy that did it. He was thankful for that. And also said that the umpires told him that had they seen it and had he not thrown the runner out, they would have sent the runner back.
Is that right?
And because it actually happened while he was throwing the baseball.
So it impedes the ball game. And his
I would say
motion.
getting a beer poured on you would impede the throwing motion. Yes.
Sure. Can't do that. That's a no-no.
Well, that guy's going to wish he hadn't have.
Here's Beltran, way outside by Zambrano. 51 pitches already tonight for Carlos. Ozzie Guillen is in year 1 of a 4-year deal. He's one of 5 managers in the history of baseball that was traded for when he was managing. Lou Piniella, that happened with him. Seattle to Tampa Bay. Prior to Ozzie Guillen, it's only happened 5 times. Grounder right side. And taken by Dobbs. He'll step on the bag, and the Cardinals strand 2. It's 5-1 midway through 2. A 5-1 St. Louis lead as we move to the bottom of the second. Kyle Lohse by month is a part of our Toyota Keys to the Game.
Outstanding in April, 4-0 record. The Cardinals needed him in that month, and both he and Lance Lynn were nearly perfect. Wainwright still struggling at that time. Is May not so good, but June, big bounce back month for Loesch.
Dobbs pops one foul, the first baseman for the Marlins, followed by Infante and then Cousins. Cardinals with the win last night picked up number 39. They're tied right now with Pittsburgh, 2 games back of Cincinnati in the Central. It shapes up to be a pretty big series early on matchup in the NL Central between the Cards and Pirates this weekend.
Cardinals won 90 games a year ago, and they're on pace this year to win just shy of 86 with what they've done. And you think about how they played of late, but that would equate to 86 wins. It's almost hard to believe.
A sleepless night, according to Mike Matheny after the game here in Miami last night. I give him credit because we later found out it was not his fault on the snafu, and yet, not shockingly, Mike takes the high road in his comments.
Basically who he is. He's a guy that's going to take responsibility, and you know, at some level he's going to say, look, Bob Davidson may have heard me wrong, but you know, communication is a two-way street, so what could I have done to make sure he did hear me right?
1-2 is hit out to right, base hit. Beltran hustling after it. No hold Dobbs to a single. Let's bring in Pat Paris, who was part of the pre and post game shows. And no, Pat, you had a chance to visit with Mike, your former partner on those pre and post game shows, extensively about the situation last night.
Yeah, you know, at first I asked if he, you know, had a restless night. He said, yeah, I really did. I started wrestling with, you know, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? The one thing he wanted to point out was he thinks that Bob Davidson, the home plate umpire from last night, was getting more criticism than he deserved. That Mike thinks that he needs to do a better job of talking to the umpire, having him watch him write it down. Mike has to this point was taught by other managers, write down the changes in front of the manager on your scorecard. He'll do the same. He'll relay it to the other team. Well, Mike thinks now the way he's going to go about it is he will watch the umpire write it down, make sure that it's right there, and then there'll be no confusion. So it's just an added step to avoid the problems that they had last night.
And again, it's great, Pat and Dan, that Mike is taking that kind of responsibility, and it just seems to be almost so antiquated that we have to have almost minutes of meetings here where you've got these great ways to communicate in this world, and yet we still don't do it on something like that. And of course it happens a lot during the course of a game, and that's something that you can kind of maybe lose concentration with, of maybe kind of half paying attention. But
that shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen, but I think Mike taking some ownership and saying, look, my first year doing this and I'm not going to let it happen again. I don't blame him for thinking that way. Just don't want to see him beat himself up over it.
Rick, I know in talking with a number of the players and scouts, as we jump from city to city, as you get a look at the numbers for Infante against Loesch, they talk about the accountability for umpires. Is it there? Is there enough?
Well, Bob Davidson has dealt with some of that accountability this year, being suspended, and so he knows there is some. Now, do we know about all of it? No. And
this is well hit out to center field. Jay is on the move. He's back near the track and makes the catch. Nice play by John Jay.
We may not like this answer, but the reality of why umpires and accountability is something that's not made public is the sense is if we know all the faults and all the warts on every umpire in baseball, that would put them in a compromised situation with players and fans every day. And
I mean, kind of like how we know all the ins and outs of the players and the bad spots of where to pitch them. And
exactly.
Well,
and the difference would be they're the authority on the field. And again, I'm not saying I agree with that. That's just their stance.
I understand where you're coming from. The strike at the knees.
We can't have anarchy, Dan.
What about the fact that Mike is being diplomatic knowing that he has to deal with this crew the next 2 nights, and by the way, the rest of the year at some point.
Well, not a lot of guys low in the brain department go to Michigan. Let's just put it that way.
There you go. So bright move by Mike Matheny. You're saying he's ahead of the game.
That might have been a better way to say it.
0-2 on Cousins with Buck on deck. Changeup, strikeout. That was the pitch in Detroit that was very effective for Loesch, that changeup right there.
Loesch has a good repertoire, and he finds out on any given night what pitches is his best pitch. Could be his curveball, could be his slider, could be his changeup, just a regular sinking fastball. And that's really what good pitchers do. Find out what's working on that particular night.
A report out of Toronto says that Omar Vizquel has said that this will be his final season as a player. Broke into the big leagues 1989. $11 Gold Gloves, over 2,800 hits. And Toronto, by the way, has signed Jamie Moyer. They'll give him 2 starts in the minor leagues and then make a decision on him. 1 ball, 1 strike on Buck. Popped up to the right side. Long way to go for Beltran near the line. Foul territory, and makes the catch. Leadoff base hit by Dobbs. He's left stranded. Craig leads it off when we come back. Zambrano finishing up his warm-up tosses, and who is the only current Marlin with more than 1 home run against Kyle Loesch. It's our AT&T trivia question, and he is truly, Rick, one of the best hitting pitchers of all time, especially with power numbers, and that's Carlos Zambrano.
Since 1974, Zambrano has 24 home runs. That's the most of any player. Second, Mike Hampton at 16, Bob Forsch at 12 are the top 3 pitcher home run totals since 1974, and 3 times he's won the Silver Slugger Award. So he's very dangerous, and he's a switch hitter to boot.
We miss your buddy Bob Forsch, don't we?
Oh my goodness, do I ever.
Here's Alan Craig, 5-1 St. Louis here in the top of the 3rd inning. Craig hit a rocket to short. It was an error on Reyes, and came around to score on the home run by Molina. Craig here, and then Yadier Molina and Skip Schumacher. Just out of the reach of Rick Horton. You almost had it.
Got a bad jump.
And if you did jump,
you'd be flying solo.
Yes, we would. Zambrano is wiggling the glove in the 0-2, taken for a ball. New stadium, new name, new logo for the Miami Marlins. Grounder up the middle, and that's a base hit for Craig. Infante couldn't come up with it. The bright colors. Jeffrey Loria, the owner of the Marlins, wanted to go with the green and the yellow and the bright orange.
Most teams have a color. They have multiple colors.
Ask the Expert is throughout the season. You'll chat tomorrow right here on FoxSportsMidwest.com. Yachty. Another hard hit ball, this time to center field. Craig back to first. By the way, Molina's 12th home run, the second most by a Cardinal catcher in the first 75 games. The most, 1979, Ted Simmons. He had 18. Talk with Al all the time about Ted Simmons, one of his good buddies and great teammates. And you look at the numbers, you can make a very, very good case that Simmons should be in the Hall of Fame.
No question about it. His offensive numbers were incredible. Also a switch hitter, power, could hit for average, played a long time. And he's made a lot of other contributions in this game as a coach, a general manager. Done a lot of scouting. Very, very bright.
Two balls, no strikes on Skip Schumacher. Runner at first is Alan Craig. Very short lead there. Skip doubled back in the first inning, 3-0.
Mentioned the 3 bad outings that Zambrano has had his last 3 times out. 9 innings, 15 runs. He's had 13 walks in those 9 innings.
Three and 1. Into the dugout of the Marlins. Count runs full. Skip late on that swing and a strikeout. Zambrano, his second strikeout of the evening, brings in Descalso. Flied out to left, first time up. First pitch to Daniel. On its way. Mentioned Zambrano was traded by the Cubs here. Volstad goes to Chicago, and he was in the minor leagues. Cleaned house with the Cubs. 1 ball, 1 strike. Chicago at the start of play, 25 wins, fewest wins in all of baseball. 25 and 48.
I think if Chicago had a good thing going and Zambrano was going to be on their team, you could deal with that. But if you're talking about building something, rebuilding something, he's not the guy you want to start with.
Change of scenery for him and for them. Just get him out of there.
He's been volatile enough in terms of his reaction to the managers, etc. And having young players there, you know, it clearly made sense for them to start over.
The 3-1 pitch is hit out of play. Play behind the runner Craig on this 3-2 pitch with 2 outs. Missed with a changeup. So the off-speed pitch misses outside. Puts runners at first and second. Kyle Loesch will be the hitter.
Kyle Loesch is not Zambrano with the bat, but I'd say that he's more than adequate with what he does. Been very good at bunting. Sacrifice bunts. He gets the job done more often than not. 161 career hitter, I would say, is on the top side of what most pitchers hit. He works at it too.
One ball, one strike. Just joining us, the Cardinals put up 5 in the first, highlighted by Molina's 3-run homer. 2 balls and 1 strike. This will be a short outing one way or another for Carlos Zambrano. This will be pitch number 73 already. Broken bat and caught. Ramirez has it. Cardinals strand 2. They've stranded 4. Midway through 3. Redbirds on top. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by AT&T Uverse, the new wireless receiver from AT&T Uverse. Visit att.com/free your TV, rethink possible. MyKiaSt.Louis.com. And right now at Jack in the Box, you can try the new Chipotle Chicken Club Combo for just $4.99 plus tax. We're glad you're with us from Miami. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, Pat Paris with you. And here's Zambrano, 5-1 St. Louis, and Big Z breaks his bat, puts one foul. Zambrano was involved with some classics, Cardinals and Cubs over the years. I think about the Edmonds game where he hit him and then Edmonds hit one out. He gave up a couple of home runs in that game to Jimmy.
He was involved with some classics with his own teammates.
Yeah.
And his own manager for that matter.
And many water coolers. Bashing those. The 0-1 pitch. Bottom dropped out of it, 0-2.
Only 1 earned run in this game so far. Stanton's home run in the first inning, but 5 unearned runs in the Cardinal first.
The 0-2. Such a long season, and Miami last month was statistically the best team in baseball as far as wins and losses are concerned, and now for Ozzie Guillen this year and this month, they are awful. Can't do anything right. Collectively in a slump with their pitching, their hitting, the strikeout of Zambrano. Second strikeout for Kyle Loesch.
We talked last night, 6 times during the month. Of the 17 losses they have in June, Marlins pitchers have given up 10 or more runs.
Here's a grounder to short for Kyle. Quickly to first, and Reyes retired. 2 away.
If you're worried about fixing the problem, I think you start there. The pitching. Starting pitching for Florida should be better. For Call, gets a good jump. The Marlins are in a bit of a defensive slump too. Their infield has had good numbers this year, but they have not been sharp in the series. Ramirez has a couple of errors. Reyes is not really showing the range we've seen from him in the past. Infante a little fumbly at second.
Now Ramirez right down the middle for a strike. And that's what I mean. Collectively, the entire team, any aspect that you want to look at, has gone into a slump.
So you kick them while they're down and move on and know that sooner or later they're going to get back on track, and you know they will.
Had the makings of a very dangerous road trip from the Cardinals' perspective. Seeing a Detroit team that is just starting to get things going a little bit. Very easily could have won 2 of 3 there. when you go to Kauffman Stadium, their fans are so electric and into it. The team usually has a little extra step. That wasn't the case with the Sweep for St. Louis. And then you come to the Marlins, and like you said, Rick, you're expecting them here in Miami to, you know, turn it on a little bit and play like the team that we all expect them to play like. The Redbirds are playing very good baseball.
I thought the demoralizing aspect of going to Detroit and playing a team that's actually below 500 but is an awesome team from top to bottom. I mean, that's the best below 500 team I think I've ever seen.
Here's a broken bat hit to short for Kyle up with it, and he makes the play. A 1-2-3 inning for Kyle Loesch. We got the top of the lineup coming up when we come back. Cardinal fans been treated to some offense here early on. It's 5-1, top of the fourth. Justin in St. Charles, our carsoup.com email. Why can't Busch Stadium have a light up home run sculpture?
Perhaps Justin could design one for us.
Or move to South Florida. I mean, it's a pretty nice place.
Not a huge fan
of the sculpture,
but not of Justin. Oh, I like Justin. Yeah, I like Justin.
I mean, you're not a huge fan of the sculpture.
Not really, but to each his own.
Jeffrey Loria is a art collector and dealer, and he wanted something bright, wanted something to signify Miami, the water and the beaches, the sunshine.
If he wanted something bright,
he got it.
He wins.
He certainly got it. I love Busch Stadium. I love new Busch Stadium. It's been fair from a pitcher's perspective, the hitter's perspective. If you walk around the ballpark, you'll see some of the history with the ballpark that reflects so many great years of Cardinal teams.
One of the interesting things about building a new stadium is you try to stay in touch with the history and the kind of the old nature and the old school nature of what it means to come to the ballpark as you did as a child, and you can't lose touch with that, but you want it to be more modern. You want it to certainly advertise the folks that are helping to support the stadium itself, which is a new phenomenon as well. And so it's a little tricky to get that right mix, and some stadiums do a great job and some not so great.
A strikeout up for Kyle to start the top of the fourth. Don't forget, we've got the Yadier Molina Bat Day coming up. That'll be on Sunday. By the way, for that afternoon, a family of 4 can come to the ballpark for $44. $44 for a family of 4 on Sunday. There's free ice cream before the game. The promotional giveaway for the game ready bat. It's a family Sunday, which means a free hot dog and soda, and kids can run the bases afterwards. That's this Sunday.
We should add that the bats are guaranteed a .390 batting average with runners in scoring position. That's something we have not been saying.
That would be the greatest bat known, the greatest giveaway ever in the history of baseball.
Just saying.
2 down. I think the thing that you look at with a ballpark, and the Marlins weren't sure how this ballpark would play, especially with the roof if it's open or closed, but you want it to be fair, and the Cardinals were not sure exactly, just like any ballpark. When you can do all the tests you want, but until you start playing actual games and get major leaguers in it, you don't know how it will play. Boy, there's another hard hit ball off the bat of Holiday, but Busch Stadium has played fair, and for the most part, this ballpark as well. Cardinals go in order. It's 5-1 St. Louis. A look at the National League All-Star team and the vote leaders. I think the one that really stands out for all of us is Buster Posey ahead of Yadier Molina. Don't forget the All-Star game on Fox July 10th at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 St. Louis time.
Posey's having a very, very good year. He deserves to be an all-star, but Yadi's having a better year.
That is part of the fun of the All-Star game, to debate some of the players that get in, those that are left off, the respective rosters. Here's Giancarlo Stanton, who just unloaded his first time up with a long home run. 0-2 pitch on its way. One of the things that Stanton does when he gets into the box during batting practice, Rick, and we know he can hit him a long way, but he takes everything to right field, so he stays on every pitch.
Cardinals have a couple of players like that, Freese and Alan Craig. Matt Holliday hits the ball hard the other way.
Going to right, hits it down the right field line, and it stays fair. Stanton with a stand-up double. So here it is, like we talked about, what he does in BP.
Middle away, drives it away. Perhaps he'll be his team's representative at the All-Star game on July 10th.
He would be my pick from this team.
Made the comment that Matt Holliday hits the ball as hard as anybody in baseball, and had a few people respond in Twitter world. Hey, what about Mr. Stanton? It's like, you know what?
You might be right, huh?
You might be right.
Productive out there by Morrison, hitting it to the right side. Stanton advancing to third.
Actually asked Mark McGuire about that today, about guys hitting the ball harder than Matt Holliday. He said, yeah, Stanton hits it pretty hard. He said, so does Adam Dunn. But Adam Dunn's a little different. He's kind of an all or nothing home run swing, and that's
Definitely.
it. These two guys are different.
Cardinals picked up 5 runs in the first inning. They lead it 5-1 as we play here in the bottom of the 4th. Here's a fly ball. Out to center. Stanton will tag up. Jay makes the catch. Fires home. Run scores, and it's 5-2. RBI for Dobbs, his 18th. Toyota Cardinals live, and we're asking, where are they now? Tracking down former Redbirds. This should be fun. Brad Thompson, Josh Kinney, and J-Rod. Guys that were part of the 06 championship team. Cardinals live at 5:30. Cards and Marlins at 6. J-Rod, we haven't heard that name in quite some time. Any ideas?
I do not know where he is, but I know that the Cardinal manager at the time did not like him being called J-Rod.
Josh Kinney. Cardinals do not win the World Series without his contribution in 06. And then Brad Thompson. He had the minor league innings streak, scoreless inning streak. May have been the youngest looking Cardinal of all time. Brad Thompson. Good guy.
I do know that Randy Flores officiated his wedding. Actually got ordained to be able to perform the wedding for his former teammate. And we had a chance to see Randy Flores early in the year. So we know where he is. We can't know where everybody is.
Off the lip of the grass, and Descalso had to stay down on that play and makes it. Beltran coming up when we come back. 5-2 lead for St. Louis. Not an easy play moments ago here for Daniel Descalso. Reason why this ball was initially, you thought it was going to be a little bit higher than it was, but it stays down off the lip of the grass, and that replay brought to you by Hyundai.
Everything happens with this lower half, having balance and having the ability to get the glove where you need it. If you're off balance fielding, you're going to turn everything into a bad hop. And Daniel Descalso is very smooth at third base. He's been very good at second base, and we find him in the lineup almost every night now, don't we?
Oh yeah. That includes against a lefty. Here's Beltran, who first time up had an RBI single. Runs scored. He's also grounded out. Opposite way and a fly ball. Morrison makes the catch. All-time hits list and moving up. Too shy of 2,000 is Carlos Beltran. Really in some exclusive category when you think about what Carlos has done. The first ever switch hitter with 300 home runs and 300 steals.
3,000, of course, is the big number that becomes the Hall of Fame number, but 2,000 is an awful lot of hits. It's playing the game a long time, being productive for a long time, and you look at the years of Carlos Beltran, and I'm not sure he's had a more productive year than what he's having this year. If you do the math, multiply this season out over 162 games, I don't think he's had a better year than that.
Rick, I think it's the best signing in baseball this offseason. Tell me a better one.
And was Berkman the best signing the year before?
I would agree. Comeback player of the year. Strike on the outside corner. Tied him up. Fastball. Strikeout number 4 for Big Z.
Very interesting how he's been able to stay in this game and find a bit of a groove. Fastball 91, 92. He still has some movement on his fastball. Locating fairly well.
Molina with home runs in 3 consecutive games. He's done that now 3 times in his career. On the 2-0 pitch, pops it up on the infield. Who wants it? Infante makes the catch. Cardinals go in order. That's 7 straight. Set down by Zambrano. The Clevelanders sponsoring that area of the ballpark. Fans can enjoy the view from left field as well as an area in right field that's blocked from up here, but gorgeous area of the ballpark. And there's a look at Carlos Beltran. We talked about his chances heading to the All-Star game and heading back to Kansas City this weekend, the first time he had been back since he was traded by the Royals.
We were surprised to hear that at first. It seemed as if he should have played there in interleague play prior and never had. And he made it count. Boy, he was good in Kansas City, and he continues to be all season long. And we mentioned now at 1,998 career hits.
Talk to the man that runs his academy in Puerto Rico, Aris Torrado. And it's a high school baseball academy. Carlos Beltran Academy that's over $10 million. He has put in roughly $3 to $5 million of his own into the academy. A strikeout for Loesch. And Aris was telling me that Carlos is considered the Roberto Clemente in many ways of this generation. He is looked up to that highly because he's giving these kids a chance to get an education. And also they talk about, don't worry about getting drafted. Let's worry about getting your education, hopefully getting a college scholarship. And if you're good enough at that point, then you make it to the big leagues. And a real area that they focus on is learning English. Here's a ground ball off the bat of John Buck. And Carlos was telling me that he knew no English when he was drafted by the Royals. I said, all right, well, how'd you learn? He said 3 words a day. He said, I was living with an American-born player. He said, all right, I'll teach you 3 words of Spanish. You teach me 3 words of English. He said, I did that, and I started watching cartoons as well, and that helped. What a neat guy he is.
I like the cartoon part.
He said that helped. Pretty neat stuff, though.
What folks may not know about the Major League Draft that we just went through is that players from Puerto Rico as a Commonwealth are included in the draft. And players in Dominican, Venezuela, Colombia is different. They sign all as free agents, and they basically have open market. And so that's been true for about 15 years or so, maybe 20. At one point, Puerto Rico was an open market as well for the Major League Draft, so players would bid against all the teams and get the best deal. And Jose Oquendo, I asked him about this yesterday, if that's helped Puerto Ricans or hurt them in terms of the exposure, and he thinks it helps them initially with the really good players and the money they get by being drafted, but overall less players are signing from Puerto Rico than the other countries.
In the dirt, and it's 2-2. Of the World Baseball Classic, and Beltran and Molina, Jose Oquendo, all part of that. Two and two. Two. Fisted out to second. Schumacher, easy play. Marlins go 1-2-3. Hitting the road will take us with you wherever you go this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv, and you'll see every game online on your favorite devices in HD quality. Cardinals.com. MLB.tv. 5-2. We're at Marlins Park. Zambrano still in this ball game, and he'll try to squeeze out at least 3 more outs. Hit for himself. We didn't think he'd last this long, did we?
No, he's on a roll, and all the runs, of course, are unearned. He was a part of that, but he's gotten a lot better. The command has improved. Couple of walks on the night for Zambrano.
He's retired 7. 7 up, 7 down the last 7 he's seen. Here's Schumacher, then Descalso and Loesch. A strike on the outside corner. It's 5-2 St. Louis. Skip tonight with a double and struck out back in the 3rd. Oh, what a play at third by Ramirez. Outstanding play, Hanley Ramirez.
Shortstop is about range and athleticism, and third base is about reflexes. You don't have time to think. There it is, jump. Split second later, and that's probably a double for Schumacher.
Ball 1 to Descalso. Daniel. Pop fly. Shallow left. Logan Morrison 2 away.
Good night so far for Kyle Loesch. He allowed a home run in the first inning, a long home run. It was measured at 454 feet. Stanton hit that, and Stanton doubled and scored in the 4th. Marlins manufactured a run really in that inning. Morrison got him over. Dobbs got him in, but really so far so good for Kyle Loesch. He's been good tonight.
Kind of game, though, that gets you a little concerned if you're Mike Matheny, where you don't pile on after that first inning.
Well, I agree. Managers are always going to be concerned about that.
thought Mike was saying at the beginning of the year, I won't take it home with me. This will be something I'll be able to leave it at the ballpark like I could as a player. And then he said last week, boy, I've had a lot of sleepless nights. I just can't let go of it. When I was a player, I was able to. Now I can't.
If Mike said he was able to do it as a player, he's got a bad memory. And I love Mike, but Mike could not do it as a player. Mike was very intense as a player, and he was a very good player. And I think that's part of what made him so good, is he cared.
They're going to say it's a strikeout on the foul tip. 5-2. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, everything possible. And by Ford, the official vehicles of the Cardinals. Beautiful night. Roof is closed. 75 degrees here in Miami. Here's Reyes. First minute of free agency. Jeffrey Loria, manager, Ozzie Guillen, 2 front office personnel met hotel in Manhattan, had a jersey with Reyes' number on it and said, here's your contract. Let's do this. They got their man. He'll stop at second base. Leadoff double. You didn't teammates right there, Reyes and Beltran.
You didn't say first day. You said first minute. Beltran runs it down. Still has a good arm. Hard to really set and throw when you're moving in that direction. That's really all he could get on that throw. Top of the order, you hold your breath a bit here. Just as you said, the Cardinals with the early lead, but they have not added on.
Miami is missing Bonifacio. Really is a catalyst in this lineup with his speed. And you think about Reyes, Bonifacio, and a chance for Ramirez and Stan to do some damage with those two at the top of the lineup. It's a very good lineup. Win right.
Bonifacio with 20 stolen bases. Been a good hitter. They certainly miss him.
And this, Rick, turns out to be a very big inning for Loesch. It's 5-2, but you've got big bats, Ramirez, Stanton, Morrison coming up.
Ramirez was checking with the bench as to whether or not he should swing at the 3-0 pitch. Instead of looking at the third base coach, I found it interesting. He was staring at Ozzie Guillen. Perhaps some communication there directly from Ozzie, which would be unusual, as to whether or not to swing at the 3-0 pitch.
The 3-1. Same pitch, doesn't like it. Question though becomes, Rick, why does he need to look in the bench or the third base coach? You're talking about a guy that's won a batting championship, and when he's right himself, is one of the most dangerous hitters in the league.
Seems a little distracted at the plate to me. And he ought to know what he's doing. He should have enough confidence with the kind of resume you just mentioned.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. Drops the bat and trots down to first. First two have reached. Tying run will come to the plate in Stanton Derek Lilliquist out to visit. Final game of the road trip is tomorrow night. Joe Kelly, one of the heroes from the game last night against Anibal Sanchez. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. Giancarlo Stanton back in the first inning. Home run to one of the deepest parts of the park. This is number 17 and RBI number 46.
The power of Stanton and the excitement of Marlins Park.
You didn't say that tongue-in-cheek, did you? Not at all.
What do you think?
Not at all. Not
Get out of
you.
my head, Dan.
There's a pitch that's taken inside. The excitement that is Marlins Park.
Now that sounded insincere.
Not at all. Kyle would love the double play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Very important at bat in this game right here. 6th inning, tying run at the plate. A lot of different ways this game can go from here.
The 2-1 pitch. A broken bat. Fly ball out to deep right. Beltran is back. Makes the catch. Fires to first. Heads up play. Couple of hops to Craig. Runner from second tags up. That's Reyes. Rick, that was a broken bat.
I know it. I heard it.
Wow.
And I also saw it carry to the warning track the other way. And a heads up play by Beltran, as you said, because Hanley Ramirez was all the way to second base. He thought that ball might get over the head of Beltran. That bat breaks. The ball carries. And Beltran catches it, then tries to throw behind the runner Ramirez, and not real close at first base, but worth the effort. No chance to get Reyes, who tagged and went to third.
Logan Morrison.
I would say Loesch won that battle. Now he's got another one.
Morrison and Albert Pujols have become friends over the years. Both attended Maplewoods Community College in Kansas City. Albert, by the way, with his 12th home run of the season tonight. Pujols had done a camp, and Morrison was at that camp. Forged a friendship then.
Use the word battle to describe Loesch and Stanton. Pitcher has about 36 battles a game for a starting pitcher. That's what it is, a one-on-one. It's him and Morrison. That's all that matters right now. Who's going to win this particular confrontation? And as a pitcher, you have to break it down that way. You can't kind of lose focus and not stay in the moment. Chris Carpenter has taught us that. That's what makes him so good. Every pitch, every batter.
The 1-1. A liner. Oh, what a play by Furcal. Steps on the bag. Double play. Wow, what a play. Rafael Furcal. He bails out Loesch. One of the top defensive plays on this road trip. Goodness. What a pit. And then the gun. Loesch off the hook. It's 5-2 St. Louis. Tremendous defensive stop by Furcal. as he turns 2, and it's 5-2 St. Louis. Verkaal makes that play, and he'll lead it off, and this is our Schnucks difference maker of the night.
If you think defense doesn't matter, you watch that play. Takes it himself, saves a run. Could have been even worse than that. That ball was scorched. And he comes up with it with the smooth hands, presence of mind to take it himself. That was an outstanding play by Verkaal.
Rick, you noticed last night, Verkaal came in with Sanchez was on the mound, Molina out to visit, and many times the guys will vary up maybe some of the signals or defensive alignments as the game goes on, as series go on too.
And Verkaal is one of the infielders, and of course all infielders do this, but I think Verkaal is very good at understanding what the pitch selection is and wanting to know what the pitch selection is so he can get the right jump on a ball. So I think we see the range of Verkaal compared to what we've seen out of Reyes. Now I know Reyes has good range, but we haven't seen it in this series, and I don't know whether the pitchers aren't hitting their spots, whether he's just not seeing the ball well, but Verkaal really has been getting better jumps than Reyes has.
3-0 pitch right down the middle, 3-1. Ozzie Guillen would like to get at least one more inning out of Zambrano. And he's really settled in this game too. Cardinals have not had a base hit since back in the 3rd. It was a leadoff hit by Craig. He was left stranded, and Carlos Zambrano has set down 10 straight. Loses him and a walk, and that's how we start the 7th. Joe McGrain will be signing autographs this Friday. It's the Bush Bash, and his daughter will be singing as well. Cardinals.com/promotions for more details, and that is the Bush Bash.
Daughter, of course, was on American Idol.
Right.
Did a great job with that, and I'm going to be, won't be first in line, but I'll be in that line to get a Joe McGrain autograph. I mean, how could you not?
Right in the middle of getting ready to call the game, there you are. Look at this perfect bunt by the University of Miami product John Jay. A lot of family and friends at the ballpark tonight and again tomorrow for John Jay. Talking with him before the game. One of the things that John did this offseason, he had a fundraiser, and it was a bowling outing, and members of the Heat and the Florida Panthers and baseball players make their home here. All participated. He raised thousands of dollars, money for food and clothing for the homeless. I didn't realize this, but John said he did a lot of work growing up, numerous shelters around town, and wanted to carry that on as he continued in his pro career, and that's what he's done. Chance here for Holiday now with a 3-run lead. Runners at first and second, 1 ball, no strikes. Ryan Webb, local product, getting loose.
Trying to understand what Hanley Ramirez was doing on that bunt attempt. He obviously did not read the hands going up on the bat quick enough for John Jay, and he really didn't make any attempt at that. That was really his ball. He's got to try to take that bunt single away, and he was more going to the third base bag, and that's part of learning how to play third base. You've been the shortstop, and you've got to be able to read a potential bunt situation, number one, but when a player starts to go up on the bat a bit, you got to start breaking in right away.
1-2 pitch, fought off by Holiday. Topped out at 91 miles an hour for Carlos Zambrano. Speed range 91 to 65.
John Jay tried to bunt last night, but the bunt was back to the pitcher Nolasco. And I think he felt he had a chance to maybe lay one down on Hanley Ramirez. And that could be a key moment in this inning and in this game, that he's been able to advance the runner and got more than that. Got a base hit out.
2-2 the count. Ooh, he just missed. Much of that, Rick, is due to the fact that they look at all the advanced scout reports in the video, and certainly Jose Oquendo is always in the game. Chris Maloney as well, trying to pick up anything they can to get an edge, and could be one of those spots.
We're watching the reaction of Hanley Ramirez right there. I think you've got to test him again at some point.
3-2 pitch. Holiday bounces into a double play. 6-4-3 on the double play. Now, if you're Ozzie Guillen, how do you approach this situation as you get a look at the Mazda replay? Do you even pitch to Beltran, or do you deal with Craig? Well, here's our answer. Anthony Rizzo, highly touted prospect of the Cubs, makes his major league debut tonight. Singles in his first at bat. Their fan base has been waiting all year to see him.
We were talking about former Cardinals, and where are they now? There's a former Cardinal that's going to get a chance to pitch in the big leagues again. We were just told Kip Wells will pitch for the San Diego Padres.
You just cannot get rid of Kip Wells. Krispy Kreme doesn't deal if the Cardinals get 9 hits. And right now they are at 7. Receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $3.99 tomorrow. Krispy Kreme doesn't deal. Good for Kip. See him back in the big leagues. It's 3 former Cardinals now that they've gotten some mileage out of and hope to get more. And that's Suppan, Marquis, and now Kip Wells. Talking about the Padres. First and third here for Craig. Craig has reached on an air, a single and a strikeout. Strike one.
Wow.
Nice play by Buck.
I don't know how he caught that ball. That took a funny hop, and he just barely got that in the web of his glove. That wasn't the middle of his glove. That was just the webbing. And then it bounces up, hits him in the chest, and somehow stays in front of him.
One pitch. 1-2.
121 pitches for Zambrano. You'd have to assume this is it. Gallen Craig is starting to walk back to the dugout. Got a reprieve.
2-2 pitch. Count is full, 5-2 St. Louis. 2 outs, runners at first and third. Ramirez in to talk to Zambrano. By the way, Bronson Arroyo, no-hitter through 7 innings. Last Reds no-hitter was by Tom Browning. That was a perfect game back in 1988.
And I was there. Perfect game against the Dodgers. It really was not overpowering that day. Just got us out.
It happens
a lot.
Obviously. Foul ball.
For about 2.5 hours. Got us out.
Played golf with Tom Browning. I can't say I was there that night. Pretty good golfer, too.
A lot of pitchers are.
Here's a 3-2 pitch, and it's a walk. I'll say this, consistently tonight, that portion of the strike zone has not been called a strike. I mean, for the most part, very consistent in that regard.
I think he's done a good job. Very close pitch, but that is outside.
Ozzie Guillen has been thrown out. Here we go. Get your money's worth, Ozzie. Go for it. Home plate umpires try not to smile, I think.
Ozzie has been tossed. The home plate umpire doing a good job.
Oh, yeah.
I would say the crowd's happy with what Guillen did, but got to give the home plate umpire credit for not really getting overly involved in the emotion of Ozzie Guillen. Not involved, but decisive.
Ozzie Guillen has been ejected in this game. A right-hander's in, takes over for Zambrano, and the Cardinals have the bases loaded. We apologize if some of that foul language made it to your television sets back home. Our microphones will pick that up, and we apologize. This is Webb, right-hander, and our Chevy called to the pen.
Been busy. This is game 33 for him. Shown good control out of the bullpen.
By the way, that was Guillen's first ejection as a Marlins manager, which may surprise you. Surprises me.
Well, you wonder how a guy like Ozzie, and again, having played with Ozzie, I know him pretty well and know that he's very emotional and tends to say what he thinks. Let's just put it that way. And that could define the Marlins pitcher as well, who seems a little more positive than we've seen him in the past. But you know, for Ozzie to get through this whole month of June and not get thrown out with a team that's 5-17 in this month, that's saying something.
Exactly. Zambrano 124. Most by a Marlins pitcher this year. He threw 37 in a 5-run first, but now all eyes on Yadier Molina. 5-2. Bases loaded with 2 down here in the top of the 7th. And Yadi on the first pitch hits a ground ball to Ramirez, steps on the bag, and they're out of the jam. Time to stretch here at Marlins Park. Loesch back to work. It's 5-2. Cardinals have the lead as we move to the bottom of the 7th, and it's 5-2. Carlos Zambrano thankful that his ERA stays put after Webb gets out of the bases loaded jam.
Does the job. That could be a big at-bat in this game as well. Kyle Loesch has been pitching very well, but the Cardinals not able to add on. They had their opportunity there in the 7th inning, and that you hope is not a big miss. Well, it is a big miss, but you hope that it doesn't hurt you later on.
First pitch is hit out of play for strike one. Underway here in the home half of the seventh. This is Greg Dobbs.
Something tells me that will not be the last time we see Ozzie Guillen thrown out of a game.
Oh, no. You know, Matheny's been thrown out twice, and Ozzie Guillen just once.
That's a stat I wouldn't have guessed.
No, sir.
On June 26th.
No hitters, by the way, have been broken up in Cincinnati. So Arroyo lifted from the game. He gave up a double for his first base hit to Milwaukee. Two-one pitch.
Ozzie Guillen was understandably upset about close calls that didn't go his way, and I think after he looks at him on video, he'll see that Dan Molino's done a pretty good job behind the plate. We will criticize umpires when need be, and certainly a bad night last night for Bob Davidson in terms of the handling of the lineup card snafu. But tonight, Dan Molino's done a very, very good job with balls and strikes.
2-2.
Didn't bait Ozzie Guillen, who was angry and yelling at him. He just had let him have his say. He didn't make it worse. Didn't kind of throw fuel on the fire.
And he got him. It's a strikeout.
Backdoor slider, catches the outside corner. Another good call. And Dobbs knew it. Omar Infante is a guy that has really hit Loesch well and really hit the Cardinals well.
Fly ball left center. Jay.
And now he's
2
0 for
outs.
3.
Pitch count by inning, only 7 here in the 7th inning, and only 85 for the game. So Rick, very efficient.
Loesch up among the league leaders. I believe he's third, certainly top 5 in terms of fewest pitches per inning among major league starters. An indication of him not walking a lot of guys, not getting a lot of deep counts, also not giving up a lot of hits for that matter. In their innings, you throw a lot of pitches just because you give up a lot of runs.
Here's a ground ball. A lot of English on that, but Furcal stays with it, and they get the speedy Cousins. Schumacher, Descalso, Loesch coming up. It's 5-2. Welcome back to Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Let's go to our studio with this Bommarito Sports Update.
Dan, thanks. Kip Wells making his first major league start since 2009. He's in a bases-loaded jam in the second, but he gets Brian Bixler to ground out. Kip did give up a homer later on. Astros and Padres tied at 1. Dan, Rick, we send it back to you in Miami.
Okay, Jim, thank you. And Kyle Loesch has been certainly outstanding tonight. Cardinals have a lead of 5-2. And the new pitcher in is Mike Dunn, third pitcher used. Dunn stepped up. He had 2 big strikeouts in the 8th inning last night. They have Randy Choate, but they'd really like to get that second inning from another lefty. If they could go back-to-back at times. Ozzie Guillen was talking about that today, and so maybe that's going to be done.
Well, we do have a double switch. We want to make sure we handle the paperwork correctly here.
Help me out.
All right, here's the deal. Dunn is the pitcher.
Got it.
And we have a new center fielder. That's Ruggiano. And so Ruggiano's going to bat in the 9th spot because 2 people have come in. And the pitcher will bat in Scott Cousins' spot, which is the 7th spot in the lineup. Got it?
Make sure you say position and then spot in the lineup, and then you and I need to come together and write it down. Look at each other's scorecard.
Do it triplicate. Get it notarized. Put a seal on it.
1 ball, 1 strike. Biggest concern for Dunn is that he cannot locate his fastball. You see, he throws hard. He's actually sent down earlier this year to New Orleans to try to get straightened out. He's a hard throwing lefty, but yet, as you well know, Rick, you can't locate it at this level. Guys make you pay.
Ask Daniel Descalzo and Matt Carpenter what they think of this guy. He was nasty on him yesterday. You got the benefit of a wide strike zone against those 2 Cardinals. Bob Davidson was behind the plate, maybe gave him a couple of pitches off the plate. But he throws hard enough, trust me. But location, always an issue.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Right back to Dunn. Makes the play. Dunn was saying before the game that when he went down to New Orleans, they extended him for 3 innings. And he said at that point in time, said it all came back to him. I can't just sit back, rear back, and throw. I've got to pitch. Velocity was dropping each inning, so he had to learn to locate again. He said it just was a, almost like a refresher course for him.
I frankly think that's a good idea to do with a bullpen in general when everybody's struggling. If you've got the Cardinal bullpen in mind, you think about guys who've had maybe rough outings, and things seem to be getting better for most of the guys in the Cardinal bullpen right now. But to be able to stretch out a Eduardo Sanchez or Fernando Salas and get him a couple of innings, or Zepchinski, there are times where you can get things right and feel much better as you stay out there longer, and kind of goes against the grain a bit, because you think, well, when a guy's struggling, you want to get him out as fast as possible, but you end up throwing 3 pitches and you don't really develop much of a feel. I mean,
it was Sam Freeman last night.
That's good. That was very, very good. Very good performance.
Out of necessity, the Cardinals had him start the inning against Reyes after he pitched a scoreless frame. So he gets 4 outs in the game, and the 4th out was the guy that wins the batting championship a year ago, Jose Reyes.
It's a 9th inning out in a close game. Big part of his development.
Here's the 0-2. David Freese is on the bench tonight. Available to pinch hit, just a day off for him. So Descalso is your 3rd baseman tonight, and Mike Matheny, you could have used Freese in this spot if you wanted to, but late innings, we saw how valuable Daniel was a year ago defensively, and not to say that David hasn't played to a very good level defensively this year, but 3-run lead, give him the full night off if you can.
I think if the Cardinals were behind, it'd be a different story. I think the Cardinals leading by 3 doesn't mean the game is fully in hand for the Cardinals, but it does mean that if you
need that bullet.
You need that bullet. You'll need it later.
Right. Oh-2, Descalso. Ground ball to first. 2 outs. Cardinals score 6. They're 1 away. Any size drink, just 50 cents all day tomorrow at your nearest On the Run at Mobile. This year, 6 is a serious number.
And they can be all unearned. We don't care.
We don't care. So Loesch, whose pitch count isn't all that high, hitting for himself here in the top of the 8th with 2 down. Should mention that the $4 sale for the Rockies, those 4 games, July 3rd and 4th, those are gone now. And tickets still available for the 2nd and the 5th. The $4 tickets, cardinals.com/July. We mentioned the promotion earlier, but $4 tickets available for all 4 games. So the 3rd and the 4th are sold out just for those tickets, not the entire ballpark, but just those $4 tickets. And the 2nd and 5th still available. Cardinals.com/July.
I think Loesch and his ability to bunt and the fact that he has the low pitch count both in play here as to why that Matheny decided early to leave him in. Not bunting now because there's nobody on, but I think he decided that Loesch was the man either way. 5-2 St. Louis.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light, the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. And by Taco Bell, Liv Moss. In South Florida, the Cardinals have a lead of 5-2 as we move to the bottom of the 8th. And Kyle Loesch has been effective tonight. Rick, what have you seen from him?
Typical Kyle Loesch. Low pitch count, command of his fastball. Everything else comes off that. The changeup has been good. Gotten some outs on sliders. Not a high total of strikeouts. He has 4.
Fly ball into right center.
And John Buck is now 1 for 22 in his career against Kyle Loesch. There's the low pitch count. It's hard to be 1 for 22 against one pitcher.
Your point being that you just walk into some hits, huh?
You do. A couple bloops here and there. They hang one for you. And we are all comfortable that Justin Ruggiano is the correct batter in the 9th spot.
I've got it down. It was notarized by the commissioner of baseball.
I wrote it in pen.
So that means you couldn't take it back. It's done. Maybe that was Bob Davidson's excuse. It's in pen. I can't do anything about it. 2 balls and a strike.
One of the major frustrations of that moment, which you don't have to worry about, Cardinal fans, viewers. We will turn the page from that moment at some point, but I think a point to be made for the fans here at the ballpark and for those Cardinal fans who were watching and or listening to Cardinal baseball, and frankly for the people here in South Florida, nobody knew what was going on. And it seems as if baseball should have a better way to communicate, as football does, when there is a discrepancy or an issue and the umpires come to a conclusion. It would have been nice to have an announcement that everybody could have heard, so we would have been up to speed.
Mitchell Boggs has been throwing in the bullpen. Saw him on Sunday against Kansas City. He'll come in. That'll be it for Loesch. Upset with that walk with 1 out here in the 8th. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals. What a play that was by Furcal. that may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cardinals. What a double play earlier by Rafael Furcal, Rick Horton.
Outstanding play by Furcal. Give you a bullpen comparison. Last night, both teams used 6 pitchers. A lot of pitches thrown out of the bullpen. And the 2 guys that were not used have both made appearances. Webb for Miami, and now Mitchell Boggs first out of the pen for Mike Matheny, and he'll face the dangerous Jose Reyes.
Reyes is 1 for 3. Base hit was a double back in the 6th inning. Runner at first is Ruggiano. Bullpen trying to make it stick for Losh's 7th win of the season. There's a rope into right field. The tying run will come to the plate in Hanley Ramirez. Mitchell Boggs, 34th appearance, 27 strikeouts in nearly 34 innings of work. Pitch at 96 with a little sink.
High quality pitch there for Mitchell Boggs. If Ramirez would have swung at that, I'm not sure he could have done much more than bounce one to Furcal again, which is exactly what the Cardinals want here.
The double play was back in the 6th inning off the bat of Morrison. The 0-1 pitch. Again, another nasty pitch by Ramirez.
Bottom dropped out
to
of that
Ramirez,
one.
I should say.
Pitch was in the middle of the plate, Dan, but the sink on that is just nasty.
That's the key. When he gets on top of his pitches, and Derek Lilliquist talks about it all the time. He had him in the minor leagues. They really feel this guy could be special coming out of the bullpen. At times we see flashes of that. Oh, 2 pitch.
Being on top from a pitching point of view is having your fingers on top. It doesn't always mean your arm angle. Your arm can be down a little bit, or it can be straight over the top, and it could be 3/4. But the deal is your fingers have to be on top, and you have to have the right finger pressure to be able to make the ball sink. And Boggs throws about 3/4 most of the time, but the fingers need to be on top.
Fly ball. Calling for it. Jay gets himself in a position to throw. Ruggiano back to second base, and Reyes to first. Big out there. One more to go. That's Stanton.
Not the best of sliders. A bit of a hanger. Mitchell Boggs got away with it. And that's going to happen sometimes.
This conversation is doing what right now for Mitchell Boggs and talking about Stanton?
Well, I think there's got to be some clearing of the mind on that last pitch. The result was good, and that's what often happens down on the field. The result is good, and we think, okay, got it out. But everybody on that field knows that that was not a good pitch by Mitchell Boggs. The hitter knows it, the catcher knows it, Mitchell Boggs knows it, and so they're trying to make sure they all communicate on that and say, okay, let's not let that happen again and move on.
Stanton. That pitch is a high fly ball. Right field. Beltran makes the catch. And Mitchell Boggs gets out of the jam. Sends us to the 9th. Redbirds on top 5-2.
Welcome back to Miami. Going to the 9th inning. Immediately following, of course, it is Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Jim Hayes and Al Rabosky in studio. Al will talk about Yadier Molina's sudden power surge. Also, we'll have plenty of reaction, including mic'd up, and go around the National League for some highlights, including Kip Wells pitching tonight for the Padres. Rafael Furcal, Dan and Rick, what a double play he turned in the 6th. He leads it off here in the 9th.
Well, you're right. It was a tremendous double play, and if folks missed it, it was back in the 6th inning. One of the top defensive plays we've seen this year. And Rafael Furcal with a lefty at the plate. Just a rocket hit to him. This is our Mazda replay in the double play.
Outstanding play because of the play itself and the athleticism involved, but also the situation. Cardinals needed a double play. Ball was a rocket up the middle. Logan Morrison not only lost a hit, but ends up hitting into a double play to end that 6th inning.
Second inning of work for Dunn. Ozzie Guillen has been ejected from this game. First time this year as the Marlins manager. Mentioned that Dunn, you know, so many times will just stay with the fastball, and these hitters know it. If he can't locate the breaking ball, you sit on the fastball. Doesn't matter how hard he throws it. This level, they'll crush that pitch. Here's the fastball that's hit into right.
Heard a lot of people talk about hitting over the years, and there was a particular time I heard Jack Clark telling folks about how he approached an at-bat, and it was wonderful to hear him talk about it. He talked about the simplicity of eliminating pitches. If I don't think you can throw, and you can do two things. You either eliminate the pitch or eliminate the location. If I don't think you can pitch me inside, I eliminate that. Don't even think about it. So everything is geared over here. If I don't think you can get me out with a slider, I eliminate that, and I'm just thinking fastball. And he says it makes hitting simple, and it makes you dangerous at the plate. If you're looking for a particular pitch. Now, I've heard it explained 1,000 ways, but when Jack said it, it just resonated with me. And I think for a young coach at a high school level or a college level to be able to teach a hitter that, the patience of being selective, I think that's a good way to approach it.
Morrison makes the catch out left off the bat of John Jay. Holiday is due up. Will they pull Dunn here? That'll be it. Cora will make the change. Matt Holiday coming up with nobody on and 2 down when we return.
7th big league season for Edward Mujica. Second time he's been a Marlin. 9-6 last year. ERA under 3. He's been a workhorse. Last year pitched 67 games. Had some very good years with the Padres and the Cleveland Indians before that. And his assignment is the Cardinal left fielder Matt Holiday. Holiday reached on an error by Zambrano, which is probably the play of this game. Walked in the 2nd, bounced out, and hit into a double play in the 7th.
Couple of hard hit balls from Matt Holiday tonight, but nothing to show it. He reached on an error back in the 1st. He has walked. He grounded out to 2nd and bounced into a 6-4-3 double play. 0-1 pitch. 5-2 lead, and closer Jason Mott getting loose.
Another tough assignment for Mitchell Boggs, where he gets the job done. Did give up a hit, but he's facing the top of the order for the Marlins, and the 8th inning, as we talked quite a bit, Dan, can be as important as the 9th. Mott starting to settle into his role, and Mitchell Boggs into his.
If the Cardinals hold on, does Mike Matheny go with that killer instinct and put the everyday lineup out there, or do you couple the off day and give your regulars you know, the 2 days off and get ready to go for Friday. Just thinking ahead a bit.
I think it's a good question, and I think it really is a different answer if you have a day game after a night game than if you have a night game after a night game. I think if it's a day game, you see more of the regulars rested, but I bet that Mike will go with more of the regulars, being as it's a night game.
Day games on Saturday and Sunday. We've got the Beltran jersey giveaway Friday, Christian Day on Saturday, Molina bat giveaway Sunday. Expecting very good crowds coming through the turnstiles this weekend. Looking forward to it. A walk to Holiday.
Cardinals are trying to go 6-2 on this road trip, and you think about the cities where the Cardinals were going, to Detroit, then to Kansas City after Kansas City played the Cardinals well at home, and then on to Miami. I mean, it could have been a bad road trip.
I looked at it, Rick. I thought it was going to be very scary.
Like 500 would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. Not being negative, it's just
realistic.
It's just being realistic.
I think, though, if you look back in this season, and if the Cardinals continue to play very good baseball, they'll look at this road trip as maybe a turning point because they got a lot healthier. You had a sweep on the road, and who knows, you win tonight, maybe the sweep here in Miami. And let's hope, fingers crossed, at some point you will see Carpenter. It was classified a setback yesterday, but you just don't know with his injury. No one does. The 2-0. 2 balls and a strike. Every executive at On the Run at Mobile is watching very closely right now.
They have checked the fine print, and they have officially decided, got a ruling from MLB that the runs can be unearned.
Three-one pitch. 3-2.
Gotten to the point with Chris Carpenter where, you know, fans want him. We want him to be pitching, but really getting to the point where you just feel bad for him. The effort that he's putting in, and he's just not getting the results, and he's not getting the physical answers as to why he can't do what he loves to do.
Strikeout of Beltran sends us to the bottom of the ninth. Jason Mott coming in to close it out when we come back. Cardinals needed 1 inning to get their runs, and that was back in the first. They lead it 5-2. Kyle Loesch, one of the stories tonight. He's our Budweiser player of the game. 7 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs. They both were earned. He walked 2 and strikes out 4. So he's had back-to-back outings at this ballpark where he's been fantastic.
And he's in line for his 7th victory, and he should have more than that. And as we've been talking about the All-Star game, I'm not sure Loesch is going to be able to have enough win totals to be considered, but you think about 2 or 3 games where he should have won and didn't. If Loesch is 10-2 with a 2.8, he could be an All-Star.
Morrison, Dobbs, Infante. Al Raboski and Jim Hayes are standing by. The post-game show, 95 on the gun from Mott. He hit 99 last night. Did give up a run, but he and the Cardinals held on for the victory.
Double switch. Shane Robinson is in left field. He'll bat in the 9th spot. Mott in Matt Holliday's spot.
Here's the 0-1. Make it 0-2. We've seen that more out of Mike Matheny, where Holliday does get lifted late innings if the potential works for the double switch. Fisted. Look at that hop. Had some English on it, didn't it?
And very fortuitous that Furcal is bilingual. There's the English and the play.
Greg Dobbs with one down and nobody on. High fly ball out to center. Backing up. Making the catch, John Jay, 2 away.
Perhaps Mike Matheny will sleep a little better tonight with Jason Mott. Can have a 1-2-3 ninth inning. I certainly hope so.
2 down, nobody on, and Omar Infante. We were talking yesterday. We really like this guy over the years as far as what he brings to the table offensively. For the most part, it's been a very good hitter. A strike at the knees. Oh, 0-1 pitch. Twice he's flied to center, and he's also grounded out to third. Last pitch was 99 on the gun. Ground ball, and this should do it. Mott steps and throws, and the Cardinals will look for a sweep tomorrow night. Yachty got it going in the first with a 3-run blast. His third in as many games, and the Cardinals hold on for a 5-2 win.
Big play in the game comes in the first inning. Holiday hits a double play that turns into an error and 5 unearned runs, and the Cardinals make those runs stand up.
It's on to the postgame show. Don't go away. Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live comes your way next. A 5-2 victory for St. Louis.
The Cardinals have won 5 in a row. They win 5-2 in Miami tonight. The Mad Hungarian Al Raboski and I are here to break it down on the postgame edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. And Al, the Cardinals got started early, 5 in the first. That's all they needed.
That's all they needed. Zambrano really settled in. There were 5 unearned runs, but the Cardinals did have 4 hits, including the big blast by Molina, his 3rd home run in 3 days. But a lot of times when you don't add on, it really doesn't spell out a victory, but this case it did with very good pitching.
Much more from Hungo coming up. Plus, after one of the wildest games in recent memory last night, the Redbirds looking for a calmer kind of W. They got it. Kyle Loesch has made batters swoon in June. We'll tell you why he was able to keep it up, and we'll take you back to Miami for Cardinal player reaction and mic'd up. Plus, which Cardinals are on their way to the All-Star game? An updated ballot is coming your way. Happy National Chocolate Pudding Day. We'll leave the skin on for you on Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. It's coming up next.